Hello and welcome to this video. This is part 1 on how to learn and how to play Liszt's Mazeppa. Mazeppa is the 4th etude in his Transcendental Etude set here. And they actually have an early history. When Liszt was about 15, actually, he published the first versions of these Transcendental Etudes that are quite substantially easier than these. His Transcendental Etudes are known for being some of the more difficult pieces in the piano literature, and we are going to walk our way through Mazeppa, which is the 4th of these etudes. It's a very well-known piece, not easy by any means, but I make this video for average pianists, just normal average pianists who are not prodigies and not concert pianists who would like to learn Mazeppa, and I want to walk you through all the details on Mazeppa. So this first video we're just going to discuss what Mazeppa is and the overall form of it. Actually, if you want to look it up, I would highly suggest going to Wikipedia. Actually, Wikipedia is actually a good source of information if you want to learn more about Mazeppa. Mazeppa was actually based on the life of Ivan Mazeppa. He lived from 1639 to 1709. He later became hetman, or military leader of Ukraine. And there are actually two famous poems on Mazeppa. The first one is by Lord Byron, who published his poem in 1819, which was based on the legend of Ivan Mazeppa, the military leader. And then the other one, the second poem from about 10 years later, from 1829, came from Victor Hugo. And it's Victor Hugo's poem that this Liszt's Mazeppa is based after, not the Lord Byron poem, although they're the same subject matter. The subject of Mazeppa was very popular in the early Romantic period. There are paintings about, or at least one famous painting titled Mazeppa, and it actually has to do with it says here, according to the poem, the young Mazeppa has a love affair with a Polish countess, Teresa, while serving as the page at the court of King John II Casimir Vasa. Countess Teresa was married to a much older count. On discovering the affair, the count punishes Mazeppa by tying him to a wild horse and setting the horse loose. Actually, I believe he was naked. Yeah, actually, that's what I said here. Tying him to the horse naked and setting the horse loose. The bulk of the poem describes the traumatic journey of the hero strapped to the horse. And the poem has been praised for its vigor of style and its sharp realization of the feelings of suffering and endurance. And at the end of Liszt's Mazeppa, he writes, just like, are you familiar with Claude Debussy's Preludes? Debussy will have, at the end of his Preludes, he always has the title or the impression given in his Preludes, not at the beginning. And so at the end, Liszt writes in French. I don't speak French well, so I'll just speak it in English. After the fall, he rises king. So he was strapped to the horse, tortured on the horse, naked as the horse rode, and then after the fall, then he becomes king. So it really is a heroic story about Mazeppa. So if you want to learn more about Mazeppa, you can look that up, either Lord Byron's poem or Victor Hugo's poem about Mazeppa. Now let's talk about the overall form of Mazeppa. The overall form of Mazeppa here, I've mapped it out here on this sheet. Hopefully you can see this. Mazeppa is organized in a roughly symmetrical fashion here, where you have an introduction, intro, and you have a coda. Those are the sort of bookends to Mazeppa. Then you have what I call theme A, theme B, theme C, and theme D. Theme A, B, C, and D are those are my labels. That's the easiest way I have to identify them. They are all the same theme in the same key, but they all are in slightly different rhythmic variations with different time signatures. Okay, so once you learn one, you can kind of play the other ones. They just have different rhythms, but basically the same chord progressions with slight variances. So you have theme A, and then the symmetrical aspect of that. Then you have theme D, the last occurrence of the theme before the coda. And then in between you have an octave section. It's a very famous octave section here. It repeats, it plays it first here, after theme A, then after the middle it goes to the octave section again. Then towards the middle you have theme B, which is another variation of theme A, and it leads right into the very beautiful middle section. It's a little slower, but then it picks up in speed, and which prepares the way for the octave section here. So this is the middle, and then going outwards you can see that when you map it out you have a roughly symmetrical plan. Then you have theme C here actually that fits in right before theme D. So intro, theme A, octave section, theme B, middle section, octave section again, theme C, theme D, and coda. Once again, I just want to emphasize that themes A, B, C, and D are pretty much the same theme, the same chord progression in the same key with slight variances. Mostly they vary in rhythm and time signature or meter. So that's the overall plan of Mazeppa. It's good to know that because I have two scores here. And what you need to do first is print out the Mazeppa from the Transcendental Etude free PDF that I have supplied for you. If you print out Mazeppa, which is the fourth etude, it should have 14 pages. And this particular edition, it's a very good edition, edited by Emil von Sauer, who happened to be a student of Liszt. So it is a very good edition. It's a Peters edition. But really the edition that I've been using all these years from Liszt Transcendental Etudes is the Kalmus edition. So you can also, if you want to get the Transcendental Etudes in a pretty good edition with no fingerings though. The Kalmus edition doesn't supply fingerings, but I think it's a little more compact because the Mazeppa in the Kalmus edition that I have is fewer pages. Actually, it's like one fewer page, but I think that the layout is a little bit better. I prefer the layout in the Kalmus edition, although the von Sauer edition that you have the PDF for has pretty good fingerings, although I will go over fingering, and I prefer different fingerings in some places. So you can use scores as you want, but as we go through this tutorial series, which I have planned for at least 9, I think about 9 videos so far, I am going to be referring to this Emil von Sauer edition, the Peters edition with 14 pages. So I won't be referring to measure numbers, but I'll be referring to the various sections, which I'm going to go over in a minute, and I'll show you how to label them here. So anyway, this is the one that I like to use, but for this tutorial series I'm going to be using this copy here from Peters edition. So what we need to do first, first you need to print this out, and then you need to label intro, put intro here, that's the introduction, on the first page, and on the second page it should be 17, here, page 17, theme A. Put theme A right here. A nice bold. Then we go on to that's still theme A in the next page. Then on page 19 here, the second system down, put octave section here. Octaves. And this also repeats on page 25. So if you turn to page 25, you'll see the exact same octave section here, which repeats. So that is the octave, what I call the octave section. Then on page 20, right here, theme B. This is the second occurrence of the theme, which happens to be in a different time signature and different rhythms. Then that repeats on the next page. And then when we get to page 22, label here the third system down. This is the middle theme. And please put A, middle theme A, because I'm breaking that up into two parts. So middle theme A. Then on page 23, put middle theme B. This is like the second half of the middle theme here. It basically uses the same melody, but Liszt uses some different accompaniment figures here. Then we go on, that continues, a very exciting part here on page 24. Then on page 25, the second system down, just beginning the last beat of the second measure. This is the octave section again, from here to the end of this page. So once you learn it once, if you learn it once, you can play it here also. That's the octave section. Then you turn the page to page 26 and you get to theme C. So this is the third occurrence of the main theme, which now is in 6/8 time with some grace note figures in there. And then that continues, and then that goes right on into theme D. So on page 27, where it says Allegro deciso, put theme D. That's the fourth and final occurrence of the main theme from Mazeppa. Then that continues through the next page. And then when you get to the bottom of page 28, right here, the last measure, where that fermata is, put coda. Well, actually, technically, the coda doesn't happen till the next page, but I just call it all a coda. This is all a recitative section, which is the section which is more free in tempo and a little slower. And then the recitative kind of section here continues. And then really probably the formal coda, what most books or analysts would call the coda, actually begins where it says tempo right here on page 29. From here to the end, that I guess technically is the coda, but I'm just going to call all of this the coda. I'm going to call the recitative before the coda and the coda. I'll just call that the coda because we're going to cover that all in one video. So what I've done is I have broken this up into those sections, and we're going to go through the piece roughly in that order. Although I have planned, what I'd like to do is go over the intro here in this video, and then I have planned actually theme A, B, C, and D all in a row. We're going to learn those all back to back because they sort of go together. So we're not going to learn Mazeppa from the very beginning to the very end. We're going to take certain sections at certain times, and then after we've done that, then we can put everything together in the end. Okay, so that's it's a nice summary of the overall form of Mazeppa. Now let's get to work. Let's look at these beginning chords. These are all diminished seventh chords. And they all require good stretching in the hands. So you need to keep your hands outstretched. hands need to be, your fingers need to be almost flat, and you're playing like a cartwheel. You want a cartwheel motion. It goes from the bottom to the top. Now, don't change your hand position. Just reposition your hand. Reposition your hand. Actually, for practice, do each one of these chords a few times. Don't shrink your hands up, keeping them in the same position. Just move down. Keep them in the same position. Move down. Move down. And then up 1/2 step. And then. And then. And then. On this chord, you want your thumb to be on that G and A. Now, I'm playing with no pedal, but it is a good idea to use pedal. That's that col pedal. Col pedale means with the pedal. So once again, we're going to do it without the pedal first. Now I'm going to play them each one time, and we're going to do it with counting. So remember the counting. You know, a lot of pianists who play this up to speed don't even consider, they don't even count. But you have a rest first, then you have this on beat 2, then you have a rest, and you have this on beat 4. Then you have a rest, then you have this on beat 2. And then you move through. These are all on quarter notes. Rest, 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 rest. You know, a lot of, I've heard this performed many times, and like I said, many pianists don't really observe these rests. They just play all these as fast as they can. But you need to really count when you're playing. And this is under half speed, what I'm showing you here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, rest, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, rest, 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 rest. Now all you have to do, once you have that down, remember you're not moving your hands you're not moving your fingers very much. You're keeping them outstretched, and you're just repositioning your hands and rolling them. Now we're going to add a little damper pedal to each of these chords, just a little bit. So just hold the pedal down until right after you play that top note, then let go of the pedal. About 1/2 second pedal on each one. Release. Release. Now we're going to go pedal, pedal. We're going to pedal each of these chords. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Pedal, and now pedal, and now pedal. It's very important that you have that pedal for each one of those chords, because that helps the chords resonate. Just because Liszt didn't indicate pedal here doesn't mean you can't or shouldn't use pedal. So, you know, I've heard many performances of this in recordings and live performances, and it's amazing how many different ways there are to play these chords. And it's also amazing how many pianists don't use pedal on these chords when you clearly should be using pedal, because it really helps the resonance of the chord. So that's without pedal. That's with a little pedal to help the resonance. Now let's look at this cadenza pattern, cadenza passage here. We're going to look at just the right hand. Personally, I like to use, he has 5, 4, 1, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 1. Personally, I like to use 4, 3. I like to stretch to 4 and go to 3. Because personally, I think it's stronger that way. It's just me. Personally, I have kind of a weak fifth finger, so I like to compensate for it by using 4 here. And also you can give it an accent. And I like to use 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. I like to use 4 on that B because 5 is a short finger and the black keys are short keys. It's really hard if you play 5 on B flat, it's weaker than if you play 4, because 4 is a longer finger and it's stronger. So you'll be able to get a better accent on that top note, I think, if you use 4 rather than 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 3, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. And then 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You see the pattern? 1, 3, 1, 2. And once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I like to use 4 and then 4. You get more notes in each movement. And I like to just go 1, 2, 3 because you can get a big fat tone on that top note. If you use 5, 5 is weak, I think, to play on the top note. It's just a weak finger and you need extra strength. So I like to use 3 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Or if you want to use 4, you can use 4. But then when you're coming down, use your thumb on D, thumb on A, thumb on D, thumb on A, thumb on D, A, D, A, D, A, and then the rest, these last 3 notes, take those last 3 notes with your left hand, because that leads into that. So personally, this is my fingering that I like to use for my right hand. It's slightly different, or actually a lot different than Emil von Zauer's fingering, but you can experiment, see what you like best. So I'm going to play the right hand again, just by itself. And make sure that you accent those top notes. So we're going to go. Give it a little time here at the top. And that's all you have to go to. And then the left hand takes those. So let's go over the left hand here. 4, 3, 2, that's good. That's what von Zauer has. 4, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1. Yes, that's good. he has 3, 2, 1. Personally, I like to use 4, 3, 2. 2 is easier to reach on that B flat. And then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now go 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you get to the top there, let's start here on the last line. Make sure you play your thumb on D, thumb on A, 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 thumb on D. You're going to land on 4, then you're going to take G. 1, 3, 4. Because that's your destination. In the next video I'll show you in theme A, you have to land on that. So the left hand, I'll play it a little faster. Notice that from the top, when you go from here all the way down to the bottom, both of your thumbs in both hands will be playing D and A. D, A, D, A, D, A, D. So that's a trick that you might want to use. Just remember that your thumbs are going to be on D and A there, and you'll be fine. Okay, so let's put hands together slowly. Let's try that again. And you know, you can add a little bits of pedal here too, like kind of, you don't want to put a lot of pedal in, but you can sort of use a little bit of pedal and make it sound very stormy. A little pedal. Make sure you land on there before you go on. So don't just end there, but it's sort of like the end of the phrase. Notice that I was using bits of pedal to help it sound a little stormy when you're going up and down the scales. Here's no pedal. And now here's a little bit of pedal, sort of just, I can't really say exactly where I'm putting the pedal, but you can use your ear to help you more pedal the higher you get. I like to just leave the pedal down from here. Leave the pedal down until you get about here. Then let the pedal go. No pedal. No pedal pretty much all of the time you're going down that scale here. No pedal for that, but then when you get to that chord, which is the first chord of the next page, you do want a nice big fat pedal on that. So that's a lot. So let's just review this intro section here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Make sure don't slow those notes down a little bit at the end, so you have that really powerful. I love this. Of course, what I'm doing is roughly at half speed, so all you need to do is just gradually speed it up a little bit. I'm not going to go over it fast because that's sort of self-explanatory. All you need to do is take these tips here, use these to help you learn it, and then as you're ready, you start gradually speeding up. You don't want to all of a sudden go to full speed from half speed. You want to just gradually speed it up a little bit through the weeks and through the months. This piece is going to take you a long time to learn, I guarantee that. So it's not something you can learn in a week or two or even a month or two. It's a piece that's going to take a long time to learn if you want to learn it well and in detail. So that was long. That was long because I had the intro and we went over the form and everything. The next video, part 2, we're going to start on theme A, the very famous theme, which here is on page 17. So stay tuned for the next video and we will start with theme A.